We are live. Clash at the Castle, Glasgow, Scotland has just gone off the air. And I suppose overall, it was an interesting show. It was a curious show. What I mean by that is, I think it was a show that most people were sort of tuning in for the main event. Most people were waiting to see what happened when it came to Drew McIntyre, when it came to CM Punk and what have you. I think that the opening and main event matches delivered in terms of match quality. I think it does continue the sort of trend that we've seen from WWE, which is the strategy at the moment, isn't it? Like, put it this way, the strategy at the moment from WWE is that the big tentpole shows, they stay in the United States. So, your Royal Rumbles, your WrestleMania, your SummerSlam, your Survivor Series, they stay in the United States. And those shows have been good shows by WWE. Now, these other shows that they've been doing internationally, the smaller shows, the crowd has been great. The atmosphere has been great. But some of the matches, like if you're going to look at it from that point of view, maybe some of the matches have somewhat failed to deliver a little bit. And I'm not going to say that's what happened this evening, because again, I thought that some of the matches delivered. I thought some of the matches did not. And I suppose the risk you run when you, like Triple H does now, which is the 5-match card of the PLE, if maybe 2 or 3 of those matches don't deliver, then you've kind of got this kind of mixed bag. And I think that's probably the way I describe it this evening. I think it was a bit of a mixed bag. As I mentioned, I think the opening match was great. I thought the main event was the outcome that I kind of had predicted, given seeing that Punk was there. I don't know what the future is going to be for Damian Priest coming out of this premium live event, because I think legitimately he looks hurt. He looks injured. I think he deserves huge credit for getting through that match and fighting through that match, because it wasn't a work, I don't think. I think we'll probably find out that he has some legitimate, serious ankle problems. I don't know if it's broken or anything like that, but it looks bad. And I think a huge credit to him for getting through that match, and a huge credit for Drew McIntyre for helping guiding through that match. You could see them talking to each other afterwards. And he had the look of a man that realized that maybe this title run he's on right now might be coming to an end because of that injury. So we'll get through all of that. But again, an overall show, if I was to rate it out of 5, I think I'd maybe give it a generous 3, perhaps. But I thought it was bookended by 2 really enjoyable bouts, and the filler just kind of really didn't live up to snuff, to be honest with you. But be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. We're on the road to 18,000 subscribers, about 250 to go. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to click the like button too. The poll is in the chat to see if you have done it already or if you haven't. Also, get your thoughts in, get your super chats in. We'll go through that for this Clash at the Castle post show. So the first match was for the WWE Championship. It was the I Quit match with Cody Rhodes defending against AJ Styles. Cody Rhodes successfully defending the WWE Championship against AJ Styles. I think that this match was, again, I thought it delivered. I mean, it was obvious that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest was going to main event. It was going to main event, so as they always say, if you're not going to go on last, when do you want to go on? You want to go on first. So the crowd was, of course, totally into it. The crowd was very much into Cody Rhodes. They were very much anti-AJ Styles. And it was, I mean, they said it was the 26th I Quit match in WWE history, so they don't do them all the time. And we got colour for both participants, which was a surprise. For all of the talk about, when Cody Rhodes was in AEW, Cody Rhodes, particularly for any big match, Cody Rhodes just always get busted open. Cody Rhodes just always get colour, always get blood. And it was like, well, when he's going to WWE, he can't do that anymore. He's done it twice this year because of the TKO ownership change, and he's Cody Rhodes. He can do what he wants. And the sort of story flow of the match, as it were, basically was Cody Rhodes got the absolute hell beaten out of him for the majority of it. He manages to turn it round and then starts to beat the hell out of AJ Styles. But Cody really took a lot of punishment in this one, including, kendo stick shots. He had his hands handcuffed behind his back at one point, which he managed to sort of turn around and get in front of him. Of course, Mama Rhodes was there with Cody Rhodes too. She got involved at one point, smashing or slapping AJ Styles 2 or 3 times across the face. And again, it was just kind of a violent I Quit match. It was just a, violent and bloody I Quit match. And I was happy to see the blood in this one, because I think, I Quit matches for me, that's what they should be. Pinfalls and submissions don't count. It's about beating your opponent down until the point that they say I quit, or you put them into a situation where they have to say I quit too. Now, I think people might be a little bit unhappy with the finish of this one, not the outcome, but the finish, in the sense of what you saw is Cody Rhodes, once he was able to get out of the handcuffs, Cody Rhodes manages to turn it around. He handcuffs AJ Styles to the rope, and once he's handcuffed him to the rope, he then starts wailing on him. It was steel chair, steel chair, steel chair, steel chair, hitting him with all kind of weapons and things of that nature. And then Cody Rhodes goes, right, if you're... And they did kind of tease it. You knew where this was coming. So after he hits him with the chair a bunch of times, the referee says, AJ, do you quit? And he thinks about it. Go screw yourself, Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes goes, right, I'll go get the steel steps instead. Gets the steel steps from outside the ring, throws him into the ring, and holds it up as if he's going to smash AJ Styles with these steel steps. And then AJ Styles says, I quit. Which I think some people might say, oh, that's a little bit lackluster. That's a little bit flat for a finish. To be honest with you, if you look back on WWE history, not even just wrestling history, but just WWE history, it's a finish that they've done before. It's a finish that was done back in 2005 at Judgment Day. John Bradshaw Layfield versus John Cena. It was a similar kind of thing, whereby John Cena, who at this point was a bloody mess, much more of a bloody mess than Cody Rhodes was in this match. It's one of the most iconic blade jobs ever. But he's a bloody mess, and he's got this metal pole or something, and he goes up to JBL, and he's about to hit him with it, and out of fear and cowardice, because they're the heel, out of fear and cowardice, he says, I quit, because he doesn't want to get hit by it. And then the irony is, basically what happened in this match here, he gets hit with it anyway, so you shouldn't have said, I quit. You should have just taken it. But he said, I quit, and Cody hit him with that, and that was that. There was also a really cool spot in the match, to be fair, which you just saw on the screen a second ago, where AJ had wrapped his forearm up in a chain, and he was going to hit a phenomenal forearm to Cody Rhodes with the chain, but Cody Rhodes, kind of like the Sabu, throws the chair at his head, knocks Styles off the top rope, and Styles does a tumble through the table too. That was a pretty cool spot. But as I mentioned, he said I quit, AJ, after being threatened with the steel steps, and Cody Rhodes gets the win. And on the watch along, I was kind of speculating on, okay, well, what does this mean? Who does he face next? Well, I think we've kind of got our answer as to who he's going to be facing next. He's probably going to be feuding Cody Rhodes with the Bloodline, because after the match, Cody Rhodes is celebrating. Cody Rhodes is, walking up the entrance ramp and holding his championship, and he's confronted by Solo Sikoa. It was actually a bit awkward, really, because Cody Rhodes is holding up his championship, and Solo Sikoa is standing behind him for quite a long amount of time, really. And eventually Cody realizes, I've got to turn around, because he knows he's going to be there. And they get face to face. Out comes the Bloodline, Tamatonga, Tongaloa. They're attacking Cody Rhodes. They're brawling. This then brings out Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and they fight off the Bloodline. So, look, there's a couple of different ways it can go. I think eventually we are getting Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. That is happening at some point. There's too much history there. There's too much story there. And we're going to get that at some point. I think... you could have Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa coming up Money in the Bank in Toronto next month. Or we could end up just getting a 6-person tag, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a 6-person tag, perhaps, at Money in the Bank. We know that Gunther is going to be challenging for a World Championship at SummerSlam, which is after Money in the Bank. But given the outcome of the World Heavyweight Championship match, I think Gunther's going to be going for the World Heavyweight title. So possibly we do get Cody versus Randy at SummerSlam. So I suppose maybe the way I could see it going maybe is Money in the Bank. We've got Cody, Kevin, and Randy versus the Bloodline. That's where you probably see Hikuleo debut. And the Bloodline win that match. And then after the match, that's where Randy Orton drops Cody Rhodes with an RKO. Boom, we go into SummerSlam with their feud. I think that's probably the direction that's going in. But as far as this one, I thought this was a good opener, fun opener. Crowd was into it. I think there is still quite a lot of discussion about Cody Rhodes' title reign thus far. He's having the same problem, I think, that a lot of babyface champions have, which is a lot of people are more interested in the chase as opposed to being at the top of the mountain. And the question becomes, how long do you stay at the top of the mountain? It's the Stone Cold Steve Austin principle. That's why when you look at Steve Austin, he was never champion for that long because he thought his philosophy was the money's in the chase. The money's in the chase. It's not of me actually being the champion for that long. And I think Cody's going to probably face a similar issue. But the problem is that The Rock wants him to hold the championship until WrestleMania next year. Because very clearly, on the Raw after WrestleMania, what was teased was Cody versus Rock, WWE Championship versus People's Championship. And that's what they want to do. Well, that's what The Rock wants to do for WrestleMania next year. So Cody's going to hold the championship, seemingly, until WrestleMania next year. Will they be able to sustain the goodwill? Perhaps. So far they have. But it does feel like maybe there is just a little bit of something missing. But I do think a feud with Randy Orton is going to help facilitate that because I think people are going to be really into that. So I thought this was a good match and a good opener too. Now, this is when it kind of gets a bit messy. Next up was the Women's Tag Team Championship. We do have brand new Women's Tag Team Champions. Alba, Fyre, and Isla Dawn win the championship quite surprisingly. I mean, I had thought and expected that Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill would hold on to the championships for quite some time. That wasn't the case. The finish essentially was when a bunch of moves are being hit. I think it's Jade Cargill hits a move on Shayna Baszler, and Isla Dawn gets into the ring, hits a German suplex on Cargill, and pins Baszler, wins the championship. And it was the feel-good moment for Scotland because they knew they wouldn't. WWE almost had to give one because they knew we're not giving Piper Niven the Women's Championship and we're not giving Drew McIntyre the World Heavyweight Championship. So we've got to have someone from Scotland win. So I think by proxy, it was just a case of, well, the Women's Tag Team Championships might be the sort of the least important titles in those three. So we're going to have to just give them to the Scottish people. As far as the match, it reminded me of Belair and Cargill when they faced off against the Kabuki Warriors at Backlash. In the sense of, it was going fine. It was going fine. It was perfectly acceptable. Nothing that's going to blow you away, but it was fine. As a match, it was fine. But then once again, Jade Cargill, she gets a hot tag, and she does like she's meant to do a springboard something in the ring, and she slips. And after that, while she technically did recover, she almost didn't recover for the rest of the match, really. In the sense of, I think she was doing a powerbomb and she kind of slipped out of that. She looked a bit lost at different points. And once again, the match just turned into a cluster. And it didn't really recover this time. And you see why. Well, you see a couple of things. You see why she was off WWE television for so long. And two, you see why she's in a tag team. Because they don't have confidence and faith that she can carry singles matches on her own. Which to me is surprising because I don't remember her. And maybe I'm just misremembering this. But I don't remember her being this edgy or sloppy or green in AEW. Maybe they protected her better in the singles matches. Maybe it's because she was doing it a bit more consistently, singles matches. I don't know. Maybe it's the pressure. Or the opponent. I'm not sure. But she didn't appear like that often. I felt in AEW. You'd see some matches that were sloppy, but you go, hey, a bit green, but she's working at it. But to me, it feels like at points she has regressed, or it's just I don't know, but there still, I think, is a long way to go. She's got, obviously, the look, she's got the entrance, she can talk, but I don't know, it just, I am kind of surprised at points how exposed she can look in tag team matches. And this one was a multi-person tag team match. The only thing really here is just remembering the moving parts. Because at this point in the match where they're doing the strength spot, she looked fine. But it's happened again where it's like if there's one slip up, then everything just turns completely to trash. And I think there is a long way to go with that. And I think the intention was put her with Bianca. Eventually Bianca will turn heel. Jade will get some reps in. And then Bianca turns on Jade and they have a program. But that to me just feels miles off at this point. I'd say keep them as a tag team and just keep working, Isla and Alba Fyre. Keep doing tag team matches and keep hitting the road. Keep working the live events because, it just doesn't look protected out there, which, again, to me almost feels like regression. I'm not sure. But I was really glad for Isla and Alba Fyre. In particular, Alba Fyre, she's had a horrible month or so. Her mother sadly passed away whilst her mother was vacationing in Florida. And now she goes back to her home country, wins Women's Tag Team Championships. And it really was the feel-good moment of the night. There wasn't really many feel-good moments in this event, was there? So that was the feel-good moment. But as a match, it kind of really did fall apart, I think, that one. And again, this is sort of represented the lull in the show, I think, the beginning of the lull. Next up was the Intercontinental Championship match, which was interesting. I was convinced that Chad Gable was going to win. I was convinced Chad Gable, he's going to win the Intercontinental Championship. He's going to leave here with the title, his first singles title in WWE. And that's not the case. And the storyline that's playing out continued to play out this evening, which was Chad Gable had a plan. The Alpha Academy didn't follow the plan. He got distracted, and Sami Zayn retains, and seemingly now he's gone to the back of the line. There was a lot of drama. There was a lot of sports entertainment in this one. Mainly that at one point, Chad Gable wants Maxxine Dupri to hit Sami Zayn with the Intercontinental Championship. She doesn't do it. She gets up on the apron. It looks like Sami Zayn's going to hit her with a haluva kick because Chad Gable moves out the way. That doesn't happen. At one point, Maxxine, I think he's got the ankle lock on the outside of the ring. Sami Zayn rolls through, knocks down Maxxine Dupri. Otis is then stepping in between and looking after Maxxine Dupri. There's a lot of Otis getting in Chad Gable's face. Otis takes Maxxine Dupri away and up the ramp. Chad Gable's looking on as going, what's happening? What's going on? He gets with the haluva kick, and Sami Zayn retains the championship. I think this one will probably be a bit polarizing. I think there's a desire for people to see Chad Gable win the Intercontinental Championship. There's a desire to see Chad Gable win the championship, which I do think is coming. I just don't think it's tonight. Triple H, as a booker, he does like to sort of think that people are getting something and pull it away. He does like to do that. And at some point, we're building towards, aren't we? We're building towards the Creeds maybe getting involved with Chad Gable. We're building towards Otis eventually turning or something like that happening. I felt like the direction they were going to go in was Gable wins tonight, and then the next 3 months, maybe even longer, they have that happen. We see right there where Otis is going face to face with Gable, and it doesn't happen, and eventually Otis is the one that wins the championship from Chad Gable. But that wasn't what happened. Again, I think it's going to be polarizing because it depends what people's preference is. Some people like their pro wrestling to be just that, or their pay-per-views, their PLEs to be just that. Let's focus on the wrestling. Let's have matches in the ring. Let's just do that. Whereas some people, they like the sports entertainment part of it. This was very sports entertaining, wasn't it? It was a lot of drama. It was a lot of that kind of thing. And it depends what really your preference is. I don't really know what happens with Sami Zayn now, because it feels like he doesn't really fit. I know that initially he did because he won the championship because of Gable's training at WrestleMania. So that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know, but I think this is building towards eventually the Creeds maybe joining Gable, and I don't know what happens with Otis at that point. I don't know. I don't know, but we shall see. We shall see what happens with that one. And again, Chad Gable's face was a picture, wasn't it, after that one? But I was quite surprised because I did think it was going to be Gable's night. It wasn't his night, but I do think his night will come fairly soon. This was the penultimate match, Women's Championship on the line. Bayley defeats Piper Niven. And do you know what? I'll give these all involved in this one, Bayley, Piper Niven, and Chelsea Green. I'll give them a lot of credit here, actually. I don't think the match was anything to write home about. I don't think it was amazing. What I will give them credit for is that this match was in a really difficult position because it was a spot where, in all honesty, the crowd would just focus on the main event at this point. They just wanted to see the main event. They just wanted to see Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. They just wanted to see if McIntyre was going to win. They just wanted to see if CM Punk was going to get involved. Like, you could tell that was their focus at this point. And what I will give them credit for in this match is, whilst it wasn't, again, anything to write home about or anything that was great, They by the end, the crowd were at least somewhat invested in the match. Somewhat invested, and they appreciated the efforts. Chelsea Green, at one point, gets thrown out. She comes back with a lucha mask on and what have you. Finish kind of came a little bit out of nowhere, where it was a crucifix bomb, and Bayley gets the victory. Again, Piper Niven was never going to win this match. This was, once again, one of those matches to put someone from Scotland on the card so people could cheer the hometown hero. Wouldn't huge match quality. It's one of those classic ones where it's power versus trying to overcome the powerful competitor, so it's a bit slower. It's not a super fast-paced match. But I thought, considering the position of the card that they were on, considering that the crowd wasn't totally invested either, I think they did a good job. And I think they did all that they could to get the crowd invested, and by the end, I think they kind of did. And finally, we get to our main event, World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Drew McIntyre does not leave as the World Heavyweight Champion, even though many had kind of expected. I think this is one of those ones that is probably the most obvious outcome finish when you really think about it. The moment we knew CM Punk was in Glasgow, there was no chance Drew McIntyre was leaving as the champion, because he was always going to screw him over. CM Punk's not travelling over just to do a little bit of a face-off or confront him whilst he's holding up the championship. He was always going to screw him over. That was just always going to be the case. And that's exactly what happened. I suppose that's the story coming out of it, but probably the second story, arguably maybe the biggest story when you think about the ramifications of it, is the health of Damian Priest. That's the health of Damian Priest, because the match was going fine. Good match, crowd are invested, obviously, because Drew's involved. And Priest does the move that he's done a million times. I've seen him do it a million times. It's always quite awkward, to be honest, when he does it, which is the move when he goes for a dive and he kind of stands on the middle rope and sort of springboards himself over. Right there, you can see it. And this is early. This is early in the match that this happens. And whenever he does it, he doesn't always land it that well. And he gets caught in the ropes and he can't get out. I mean, the referee very clearly tried to get him out as soon as possible. He couldn't, because he was wedged right in there. Eventually, Drew McIntyre is able to get him out of it. But after that, you could tell he'd hurt himself. That wasn't intentional. That was an accident. Clearly, it was bothering him for the rest of the match. He's a madman, because he's kept trying to do every move that involved his foot or jumping or kicking, which is insane. I can't even say, I don't know if it's broken or whatever, because adrenaline's a funny thing. You can have broken your ankle, broken your foot, and you can sometimes walk on it through the adrenaline of the moment and getting through the match. Very clearly, the referee was having a lot of conversations with him, and people in the back were having a lot of conversations of him saying, look, are you okay? Do you want to carry on? We can go to something else. We can cut the match short. We can do something. Priest, huge credit to him, was like, I'm going to get through it. 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 And that's exactly what he did. So huge credit to him for that. And then, like I said, the finish, you kind of knew was coming, that CM Punk was going to cost him. I mean, I do kind of think, where did CM Punk get the referee shirt from? And how would he have known that the referee was going to get knocked down. That's one of those like pro wrestling things, isn't it? That's one of those pro wrestling things where you do have to kind of throw logic out of the window to an extent, because how was, again, the referee bump happened and Punk immediately ran out with the referee shirt on. How was he to know that this referee bump was going to happen, and why does he have a referee shirt? Unless, what I would love them to do on Raw on Monday is show backstage footage of like Punk waiting, and then once he sees the ref get knocked down, he sort of grabs a referee shirt from somewhere kind of thing, like they're hanging up, or rips one off a referee's back and puts it on. I'd like to see that just to have a little bit of logic behind it, because when you do think about it, don't have a ton of logic in that one. But Punk costs McIntyre the championship. Wade Barrett, I'll give him credit too. Wade Barrett did a fantastic job of just selling that he was completely furious and sickened and horrible and just horrified by it. That this was a total screw job. Punk should be fired by WWE, and he did a fantastic job when it came to that. I just want to see if they did like release something like that, explaining it, because it is a bit of a leap in logic, one would think. Can't see it at the moment. Just a couple of notes coming out of this press conference. Damian Priest says his ankle feels like trash. I don't blame him. Look like it absolutely sucks. CM Punk is at the press conference as well. We know how that would go. Punk and press conferences, what can go wrong? I think he brought donuts for people as well. Yeah, he did. He brought donuts for people at the better than, was it muffins or whatever, from Mindy's Bakery. Interestingly, CM Punk said he hopes to be medically cleared next week, and he plans to appear on SmackDown in Chicago. He said he's only been cleared for only referee duty. He said his arm feels great, though, and is expecting to be actually cleared. So he also says CM Punk says he's going to pray that Drew McIntyre never becomes champion in WWE again. So, yeah, Punk, when it comes to Punk, it looks like he said he hopes he's going to be medically cleared next week. So we're getting Punk versus McIntyre at SummerSlam, aren't we? Don't think it's going to happen at Toronto Money in the Bank. I wouldn't be shocked if McIntyre enters Money in the Bank and once again Punk costs him. That's the storyline right now, isn't it? He cost him the championship at WrestleMania. He cost him the opportunity to be number one contender after WrestleMania. He's cost them all the heavyweight championship tonight. Next stop, McIntyre enters Money in the Bank. Mac and CM Punk cost him. That sets up the match finally at SummerSlam. We finally get Punk versus McIntyre. I think that's probably the direction that they go in. Ahmed says they showed that he was watching it and took Jess's spare ref shirt and ran out. Where was that? Is that on their socials? Because I can't see that. I saw Jessica Carr tweet something saying, "Oh no." Is it on their Twitter? Their X. Scrolling down. Oh, there you go. How it happened. He's watching it. He goes to Jessica Carr. He says, "Give me your shirt." Or he says, "Give me a shirt," and puts it on. So again, that's the logic I'm looking for. That's the logic I'm looking for. That's fine, because otherwise, like I said, it's one of those ones. It's little details like that, but that's how it should work, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So yes, that's good. Good explanation, WWE. Good. I like that a lot. Yes, good explanation. But there you go. As far as the event, as far as the premium live event, like I said, I don't think a lot to really write home about in terms of the sort of middle of it. I thought that, again, opening was good, ending was good, middle of it, yeah, not too much of it. But I think that is becoming a common theme with these things, is that these international PLEs of these smaller shows, it's like the selling point is the crowd. The selling point is the atmosphere, as opposed to maybe the matches, because they're less memorable when it comes to that kind of thing. but you do get a couple of good matches in there too. I think that's kind of maybe what we're looking at. But there you go. A reminder, we're going to have news videos coming up once again tomorrow. All of the fallout from Clash at the Castle, as well as anything that happens in between. So if you haven't already, click the like button, be sure to subscribe, and I will speak to you again very, very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.